I came across a story a few days ago about illegal migrants coming across the border. This is so common now, I almost ignored it. But another story came out today that made it more interesting. Then another story broke late last night that made it way more interesting. So it started with a story from Summit News. Steve Watson was reporting on some thermal drone footage that shows hundreds of people walking across the southern border. This footage was from Eagle Pass, Texas. Fox News reporter Bill Malusian tweeted out the footage on Thursday, noting that there have been over 1,400 crossings in the Del Rio sector alone in the past 24 hours, and close to 70,000 since the beginning of last month. 70,000! Just imagine what 70,000 people looks like. DeSantis sent 50 to Martha's Vineyard, and they had a national meltdown. They called him a human trafficker. Biden has been moving hundreds of thousands across the country for months, and not a peep. It's a little weird bit of hypocrisy, no? Now, Texas Senator Ted Cruz commented on the footage, noting that 5 million illegal aliens have crossed the border since Joe Biden was elected. Over 230 crossed last month. Now, that 5 million number is significant. If 7.5% of the entire population of Canada came across the border, we would recognize that as an invasion. Canada has 37 million people, and if 5 million of them came in, we might start sending tanks. Keep those tanks in mind for later. But 5 million people is the entire population of Ireland. Ireland, in fact, has slightly less than 5 million people. The entire population of New Zealand is less than the number of migrants we've accepted since Biden. Also, Panama only has 4.3 million people. Kuwait has 4.2. Uruguay has 3.4 million. Total population. In fact, there are 111 countries that have a smaller population than the number of migrants that have illegally crossed the border since Kamala became the border czar. Kamala, the border czar, who has never even been to the border, is not going to fix this problem. In fact, I'm sure she doesn't even recognize it as a problem. This just sickens me. We're being invaded and no one is doing anything about it. But then I found another story, and this is almost unbelievable, but it's real. Chuck Schumer, a traitorous anti-American piece of shit.
Now more than ever, we're short of workers. We have a population that is not reproducing it on its own with the same level that it used to. The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
He is calling for amnesty to all dreamers and everyone else. If he had his way, immediate citizenship for them all. His reason is because Americans are not having enough children, and we need workers. Every bit of that statement is complete crap, deceitful, and evil. 1. He wants to let in millions of people to be cheap labor. It's the modern-day slavery. He won't admit it, but he wants to get brown people to do work. It will drive wages down to almost nothing, because they will work for literal slave wages. This is what he wants. 2. Why are some Americans having less children? I can think of a few reasons. They are pushing Pride Month all year long now. Newsflash, Pride people can't produce children when they are both using the same equipment. I'm not sure if they're aware of that or not, but it's kind of important. Also, the gender dysphoria crowd is chopping off their bits and pieces. Pretty hard to have children if you made your pole into a hole. You need 2 genders to produce children. Trust that science. 3. New York City has received a grand total of 50 buses of migrants from Texas. That might be a few thousand. and they declared an emergency and rolled out National Guard to help with the crisis. How on earth are they going to deal with a few million when they show up for their amnesty? He knows it will destroy the city. He doesn't care. He'll find some way to make money from this. Probably sponsoring and taking money from homeless shelters or who knows what. 4. If this amnesty passes, the number of migrants will double or triple or more. You always get more of what you subsidize. Now, some critics are saying that he only wants to give amnesty to people that have been here for a long time. Okay, that is still rewarding crimes. They entered here illegally. You can't reward that. But even if they get amnesty and citizenship, they can now sponsor family members and then they bring in 7 to 10 relatives. The problem gets worse from every angle, no matter which way you look at it. So I thought this would be it. This is as disgusting as it gets. How can it possibly get worse? Well, let's go back to Texas and hear what Governor Abbott said late Sunday night. Governor Abbott invoked the state's invasion clause, and he's preparing to deploy tanks on the border. Shit just got real. Armored personnel carriers will be added to the fleet. Operation Lone Star. There will be some interesting action on the border pretty soon. We're reaching the unstoppable force versus the immovable objects phase. One side will break first, and I think Texas is where I'd place my bet. They're completely sick and tired of this administration and its corrupt policies. If I had to place a bet, it would actually be on a small group of regular citizens who start taking care of the problem with long-range meet and greet hardware. It might not be right, but the problem is just not being solved. And throughout history, something like this always happens. I'm just playing the odds. The last resort is that Texas just secedes from the U.S. They have that ability written into the Texas Charter, into the Texas Constitution. They can leave at any time. And the last time they polled that question, it was over 50% leave. It's a serious option. Then they'll lock the border down with extreme aggression. So right now, go down and leave a comment. Texas or New York? Texas, Abbott wants to protect the border. Or New York, Schumer wants more migrants. Which side are you going to choose? Then do the like and subscribe thing, please. I got another video coming later, so I'll see you soon.